So, would you say that you wield your audience more like a shield than like a sword?
I mean, I try to in that sense, but I wield them like a sword as well for things that I believe in.
Streamer Destiny is saying that it's justifiable to attack and kill me in real life.
Hasan was terrified.
Fear, the terror in Hasan's eyes.
Culture war. Culture war never changes. In the year 2025, every community online is at war with each other.
When the war comes to me, I have no choice but to defend myself.
I'm being invaded by a bunch of fucking commie tankies. Let's go to war, guys.
In the online culture war, I am the strongest soldier.
Alex Novell is the strongest hasanabi head. This is the strongest hasanabi soldier.
A warrior sent back through time to stop Judgment Day from happening. But it's getting closer every day. Behind the constant fighting, there's one entity pulling all the strings, stoking the flames of war. One terrible force, dead set on destroying everything and everyone that dares to criticize it. That one force can only be reckoned with if you have two unbeatable weapons.
It's debate time.
Here we go. Debating someone like Destiny isn't easy.
How many miles of walk have you got through Destiny?
Not half as many as you, sir.
Oh, your mic's not on.
Destiny is basically the liberal version of Ben Shapiro. So when he does actually debate people, it's usually meant to farm clips for his multiple social media channels.
And this is the legend Destiny over here, everybody. You get a chance to debate him one-on-one. So if anybody else wants to come up and debate.
You're choosing to do this now after Charlie Kirk was doing it for 16 years or however many years, and that's why you're here trying to imitate the exact same thing.
First of all, I'm not trying to. I would never be so low that I would imitate such a loser like Charlie Kirk. Number one, okay. Number two, okay. I've been doing these events for
Charlie Kirk had the balls to talk against Israel.
So if I ever wanted to face Destiny in an epic debate of facts and logic, I had to get him in a private call where he couldn't showboat to his audience.
I even set him up. I was like, watch this, audience. How are you lying about this?
Shut up, Destiny.
Holy
Shut up.
Shit. You're so
Shut
shameless,
up.
dude.
Have had enough with your stupid dog
Who is
shit.
the video? Who is the guy?
I can't do it.
Who is the guy? Who is the guy in the top middle? Who is the Ron? Who is that guy? What's that video of? Who is that? Did he walk away?
But Destiny doesn't just get on a private call with anyone. So unless I wanted to pretend to be a teenage girl, the next best thing was to go through his right-hand man, Dan Saltman.
Could you push Destiny a little bit to talk to me?
I'll tell him that the interview with you went okay. I mean, he's not really worried about people backstabbing him because his community is fucking insane. Like, I don't know if have you ever gone through shit with the community coming after you before? If you know that level of insanity, you know that like of the communities that are like most known for being fucking insane, everyone says like DGG is the worst. I don't think it's the case, but like, I don't think Destiny is particularly worried about people backstabbing him because, you know, nobody wants that fucking heat. Yeah. Anyways, but what I'll do is I'll message Destiny. I'm just saying I did an interview with you about Hasan. He's a Jewish guy. He mentioned he reached out to you and say that the interview with you.
Did he tell you that I reached out to him? Did you guys know that I like?
We haven't talked very much because he's just going through some crazy shit right now.
So finally, everything was set up for me to talk to Destiny. But first he had to reschedule on me 5 different times and then make a cringe yo mama joke to assert dominance before he could join the call.
Hello.
Oh, hey, what's up? Hold on one sec.
There he is.
Okay, I'm here. I'm real. How's it going?
It's going good. I appreciate you doing this. I'll jump right in. I won't waste your time.
Destiny has been a controversial figure on the internet for a long time now, but recently it feels like things are starting to reach their peak. Not only for Destiny, but for the long-term hate campaign he's been running against 3-time winner of Antagonist of the Year, Hasan Piker.
And the Destiny Award for Antagonist of the Year is Hasan Piker.
Wow. Good job, Hasan. Fighting hard for that rank 1 spot.
Destiny's community, where he is calling for my death. At what point do we stop? At what point do people in his orbit say, hey man, I think you've gone too far?
Since both of their permanent bans on the live streaming platform Twitch, Destiny, along with his podcast co-host Dan Saltman, have intensified their campaign to deplatform or cancel Hasan Piker by any means necessary.
Hasan lost millions of dollars because of me. This Jew cost Hasan millions of dollars a year, guaranteed. Tell me how, am I wrong or am I right? Because you're
probably right, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There, Daddy is saying it's right for you. All right, chat. That's it. And there's nothing that Hasan can do about it except take it like my bitch that he is. You can't destroy a leftist as a centrist or a liberal. You can only destroy them if you're a slightly different, more extreme leftist. Then you create this division. You know, Hasan and Dan Clancy, you know, being the dude that they can't destroy, and they're saying you can't destroy him to me, and it's like, I know, but this person can, and it's like slightly different leftist. Sorry, a little rambling there, but I just wanted to drive the point home to you that these people's success is not based around their politics. I know that sounds stupid. It's based around the culture and the identity and the communities that they foster and develop.
My community will hate Hasan because we have severe epistemic differences. Like our approach to how we do, you know, research or truth or put together political opinions is quite different.
Talk to me about how you gather information versus how he does.
I feel like when I go to Hasan's stream, there's a lot of people now where you basically just kind of going for like marching orders. Like, what do progressives think right now? What do tankies think right now? What do whatever? I mean, I feel like that's the majority of media today. I mean, there's like pros and cons to it, but for better or for worse, I don't really cleanly map on to any political ideology. So I'm kind of free of the pressure of having to agree with one side.
Trump, in terms of his policies, was not really that radical.
Not actually at all.
Right. Actually, so you'll agree. In terms of policy, he wasn't really that much different than even his Democrat predecessors.
Sure.
Your community's been at war with Hasan's community, especially when it comes to like Reddit.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
What is your role in that in terms of like, are you okay with that? Would you rather them not be at war, or is it better for the overall continuing of the thing that you're building to have a community that is galvanized in this way?
I mean, it really depends on what you mean by at war. Like, I think it's good for us to, you know, further our beliefs and ideas online. I think it's good to argue about things, especially when we think somebody else is being untruthful. I'm a tit for tat guy. If you want to roll in the mud, I'll gladly roll in the mud with you. I have a lot of experience doing it and a big history doing it, and I have no problem doing it.
Destiny and Dan Saltman have waged a full-scale information war, wielding their communities and resources to spread their anti-Hasan message across the internet.
Is Hasan gonna create some people that are gonna be terrorists, or you know, I don't know how you would do it. I think there's probably a very good chance that there will be some shootings that get attributed to, you know, Hasan watchers. I think we already have some, personally, but
which ones?
You know, I would say the Elias Rodriguez guy who did the 2 shootings, the Israeli staffer. I've shared the information I have with that with the relevant people. So,
are you know, working alongside Dan a lot with this stuff, or what's your kind of perspective on the feeding the trolls of it all?
Dan typically does his own thing. For feeding the trolls, it really just depends. Like, you don't want to get into the personal stuff too much, because if you do, then all the fights become personal.
What a fucking loser. God, he's such a Neanderthal fuck. He's such a slime fuck piece of shit.
He's like schizo, or not schizo, he's like a psychopath.
Hasan is the most deviant person I know.
Fuck this. Hold on. Let me do my thing, and you can say you're retarded, whatever the fucking stupid shit you were about to say. That would completely undermine exactly what I was saying.
Sorry.
Destiny, in this way, reminds me a lot of another guy who I spoke to once on this channel. Did OJ do it?
You know, maybe Netanyahu once asked me that question, and he was prime minister, and I said, does Israel have nuclear weapons? And he said, Alan, you know, I can't tell you that. Lawyers have confidences, and we can't disclose those confidences, just as prime ministers of Israel have confidences.
Destiny and Dershowitz have a lot in common. And it's not just their proclivities for young girls or the state of Israel. They've both made careers out of framing criticism as persecution, while also thriving on confrontations for their personal branding.
They're engaging in bigotry. Look, I fought against apartheid. I was part of the legal team for Nelson Mandela. I know what apartheid is. How dare you quote Israel an apartheid state?
Has Israel been committing a genocide?
I wouldn't say so, but
no,
not yet.
Not yet, really?
Yep, really, yep.
Also like Dershowitz, Destiny's love of public confrontations and unwillingness to back down from a fight would find him entrenched in a legal battle related to allegations of
Streamer Destiny may be legally trapped as we look at this new scandal, and we're turning to what may be criminal charges.
A few days ago, a Reddit post showed that the girl Destiny shared Pixie's nudes with was seemingly confirmed to be 17 years old due to her getting doxxed. There is almost a 0% chance that she was not 17 during that time.
These allegations, however serious, don't seem to actually phase Destiny's controversy-addled brain. Talk to me about, like, the day that, like, everything kind of blew up on Twitter and how you felt and your reaction to that.
Everything? Which everything?
Like, when everyone started calling you a pedo.
At this point, I'm used to everything, so it is what it is. I know if I just keep streaming and I'm doing my thing, generally everything goes away after a week or two, yeah.
Even more so than Destiny, Dan Saltman has spent an insane amount of time, money, and whatever other resources or connections he has to try to destroy Hasan Piker. And he says he's doing it all because he's trying to stop anti-Semitism.
I already have my money, right? I don't have to stream. I don't have to go and do anything on that front. Like, I'm here and I can be as resourceful and impactful as I want to be to try and make the world a better place through, hopefully, just neoliberal type of pressure and show the world reality of what it is.
All right, first off, this website, just to be clear, is not owned or operated by Twitch. And this site is, well, you know, you don't have to read all that, but it's there.
What's a gripe site?
Don't worry about it.
This is Destiny's podcast co-host, Orbiter, who spends every waking moment actively trying to get me deplatformed.
I realize that I don't have nearly the resources of what, the ADL or anyone else has. The Hatred.tv site is just another kind of piece in that puzzle. The creation of these sites allows their impact to reach a lot more people in a lot more understandable way. All of a sudden, it's not like an anti-Semitism issue. Now it's just why does Twitch as a company push Hasan so high and protect him so much?
Dan Saltman's aggressive Zionism, along with his regressive beliefs about free speech on the internet, have made him a powerful and outspoken ally for Destiny in the war against Hasan Piker. When I go through hatred.tv, right? I look at each glowing dot in the field represents 100 anti-Semitic messages in Hasan's chat, and I click on one, and a lot of the stuff is like kill all Zionist pigs. Israel already killed all of its own fucking citizens. That I'm just trying to read one, for example. Is people saying kill all Zionists in Hasan's chat in your mind a dog whistle for, kill all Jews?
Yes, for the most part, yeah. I would almost absolutely, usually, say that to be the case. I think it's going to be incredibly rare that it wouldn't be the case. People like to call me like an ultra-Zionist, genocidal maniac. And in my mind, I think the Jews should have gotten half of Germany. I think that would have been the fair thing to have in that situation. So it's just, but these people
for their entire life have been told that Jews are evil, and that they want to destroy you. And if you kill one of them, you're gonna, I don't know all the religious terms, but it's crazy. And to combat that level of indoctrination, there has to be a massive influx of resources into that area. There needs to be a McDonald's on every corner, and everyone there needs to be driving a Ferrari. And I know it sounds stupid, but it's only at that point that these people are that the residents of Gaza and the West Bank are going to be like, maybe, let's focus on something besides killing Jews, because life right now is pretty awesome.
When Dan Saltman isn't podcasting with a sex pest or obsessing over Hasan Piker, he's running his company, Redact.dev, an app that's supposed to help you delete your messages that's designed about as well as his anti-Hasan websites.
So Redact as a company came to be a few years ago. Redact has been based around the idea of letting you manage data that you yourself have created. If you ever feel like pushing it, let me know. And we have an affiliate program that I can get you in.
But don't let the cluttered interface or the fact that if you use his app it will disable your Discord account be reasons that you never use a piece of technology designed by Dan Saltman. Because he also created TinyChat, one of the first tools that would use to video chat with teenage girls on the internet.
I don't know if you know this about me, but a long time ago, I created the first Twitch type website that there was. We were bigger than Skype at one point. It was called TinyChat.
It's called TinyChat, and it's the latest craze on the internet. Users need a Facebook, MySpace, or Twitter account to access the site. And once they do, they are instantly connected to millions of people by webcam.
Look what he's doing.
Some of the chats are fun, just like TinyChat advertises. But others show people, and in many instances, minors. We even found teenagers themselves to other teens.
He wants everyone to see that?
With the budget cuts everywhere, police departments nowhere is going to have any sort of resources available to even remotely go after something like that.
So all those things said, we ran that company very successfully. We built it to, a huge amount of users. So I do feel, very knowledgeable.
Do you feel responsible somewhat for creating a monster in that way?
No, I don't feel responsible. We just, did group video chat, and then, people took it to a level that was way more frisky afterwards. You had chat roulette that came afterwards, and that kind of gave everything a really bad name.
Beyond all of the shoddy tech and targeted websites, Dan Saltman's biggest weapon is his ability to constantly add his own veered perspective to the narrative.
Why I do this is, I think, because I can. After October 7th, I was in a very, I felt strange. I thought, can I do something to stop this? And I felt like I could. I felt like, the success that I've done with my businesses, that I should be able to use that to find out what pressure points I can push to make a positive change. I wish I did this thing. I wish I spent more time with my kids. It's always all these things I wish that I did. And I realized at the point, fuck it. This is gonna be one of those things I think that I'm gonna regret later on in life, is that I had the opportunity to make an impact and hopefully counter this narrative that all Jews are fucking evil. The ability to counter that was worthwhile.
Dan Saltman's unwillingness to get a hobby or go spend some time with his kids would be astonishing to most people. But that's the way things go during the culture war. Veteran debate lords like Destiny can't spend time with their kids when there's a war going on, even if his own son falls victim to the same online extremism that Destiny claims to fight against.
You've said that you're a Nazi. You've said that you endorse Adolf Hitler. And look, these are pretty morally horrible views, in my view.
The book I'm reading right now, ironically, is Mein Kampf. I'm trying to understand the psychology of Hitler.
I do want to ask you about how your son's been radicalized, because I've seen a lot of his posts and interviews about, his beliefs on Hitler and stuff.
It's kind of annoying because I said a lot of crazy stuff when I was a kid. I imagine right now he's going through his whole thing. There's a lot of people online that are very motivated and invested in trying to have him, turn out one way or another. Hasan and everybody else likes to talk about him, but I chat with him. He's 14. If he still believes this when he's 16, probably gonna be pretty worried, but people go through phases, and I'm not gonna sit here and try to audit 14-year-olds' beliefs to make sure that they're perfectly in alignment with my, democratic liberal beliefs. People grow. As long as he doesn't do anything that gets him kicked out of school, then it'll be okay, hopefully.
Destiny claims that his community is immune from extremists due to his innate ability to tell which people are making racist jokes and which people are actually racist.
I don't know how to explain it. It's like I don't want to call it a vibe. Like, if you spend time in my community, it's pretty obvious we don't hate Jews. Like, sometimes Hasan will call me or my community anti-Semitic, because there are some anti-Semitic jokes that I make. I think there's a lot of funny jokes that can be racist or sexist or whatever. But like, it's pretty obvious that my community is not like an anti-Semitic community. Whereas Hasan will never make those kinds of jokes per se, but his community buys into a lot of the like Zionist occupied government. And you see even like the Young Turks and everything now are going hardcore. I think that kind of anti-Semitism is a lot more insidious and damaging than just, idiots telling jokes, even if those people are like a little bit hateful.
What Destiny doesn't want to admit, or maybe just doesn't realize, is that after years of constant controversy, he's conditioned his community to carry out his bidding and defend his actions, no matter how reprehensible the crime.
I should just make like a guideline for all this, right? Always deny the initial thing, say there's no context, or just don't address it at all, say the other side is lying, make up some bullshit allegation, get everybody in your orbit to carry the message. All of your fucking sycophantic fans will carry the exact same message, and then if there's anybody ostensibly that's on your side, or there's anybody that is even rolling on your side, then you just harass the fuck out of them until they acquiesce, until they give into it, to all the harassment, and they have to change their opinion.
At a certain point, it comes down to people wielding their audience as a weapon or as a shield from controversy or from, attacks by other creators, because it's something that's so common, and it's something that even I contribute to as someone who's made a fair amount of videos that like cover controversy.
What about it? I mean, people, it's just the nature of crowds anywhere, right? Countries do it, activist groups do it. Hasan does it. They're just taking notes from him, right? Like the audience will follow the streamer in terms of how they do it. I think the other day, he called me like sex pestiny, molestiny, so he had like 4 nicknames in a row for
calling
me.
you Dershowitz. You like Israel so much, you'd be more Alan Dershowitz than sex
True.
pestiny.
Yeah.
Destiny's main tactic has been to focus everybody's negative attention onto Hasan Piker and away from his own repeated bad behaviors. And it's actually working.
When Hasan goes out and he does podcasts, he just gets very little, traction outside of Twitch. But when I go, my poll will be 5 times greater sometimes, and I think that kind of bothers him. And I think he realized that, so he's kind of been more intentional about trying to reach out at least for mainstream media pieces, although I don't think he's going to find the success he's looking for there either.
He does get institutional support. Hasan does have interactions with these people, and that's because currently they don't look far enough into seeing how much of an enemy of the Democrats Hasan Piker is, and I hope that can change in the future.
The goal is to maximize, for instance, attention and eyes on him and impressions as much as possible. It's all about just eyes on, it's all about attention and impressions.
Since the beginning of 2025, when the revenge porn allegations first dropped, there have been 10 major media articles about Destiny's case. When Hasan's dog slipped on her canvas bed and yelped, Destiny and Dan Saltman worked tirelessly to spread the narrative that Hasan Piker was covertly shocking his dog with an e-collar to keep it in place during his live stream.
I also like how the dog clipped its foot on something, whatever that means. But Hasan doesn't care about it. He's not interested in it. He has no idea what it was. This is apparently the first time this has ever happened, right? Like, I don't think, has the dog ever yelped on stream before? So like, what? There's so many indications that he's lying. There's so many. He's like so obviously lying. It's so cringe.
Dude, this dog is causing this guy so much fucking problem. He's
more
so
than anything
fucking
else
mad.
I've done. More than anything I've done, which is, sad, but also like, it is what it is. I learned from them because I learned from them because they spent so much time fucking over Ethan Klein with saying his dog was fed cheese. And I was just like, you know what? That's a good strategy. Let's fucking do that shit.
That accusation led to over 25 major media articles covering the Hasan Piker dog collar drama. Destiny himself has made over 300 videos talking about Hasan on his YouTube channel. And that's not even including live streams.
Give me the Hasan clip. I need my hater clips ready.
Hasan bad.
But unironically.
But I'm worse.
It's not fair to chastise all of America for slavery because only 2% of Americans own slaves. Like, Hasan would have been part of that 2%. Like, that's the kind of person he is. It's just insane to me. Jesus.
Ugh, God, I hate this guy. If you're a trans person and you take any like direction from Hasan, you're actually such a loser. When I was living in LA, me and Hasan actually played a game of horse and I destroyed him. And it was actually from that moment onwards that our relationship started to deteriorate.
Fighting against Hasan Piker and his community of radical socialists has become the main goal not just of Destiny and Dan Saltman, but tons of other creators on the internet.
There's a few people in there that it's like this battle that's going on, if you will. I guess you could say Asmongold is in there, Tectone is in there.
There's always like large communities that are kind of like controlling the direction. My community is a large one. XQC's is decently big, Asmongold's is a large one, and then Hasan's is kind of there. The dynamic right now is Asmongold, XQC, and my community all hate Hasan. So if I say anything negative in that direction, it'll get a lot of traction, but not necessarily because they like me, just because they hate Hasan. Anytime we see a Hasan Piker post, we try to post really mean and rude stuff about him so that he cries about it on a stream. Yeah, it's a hugely coordinated effort. I think I spend probably over $200,000 a month on bots and Nazis to go and spam bad stuff about Hasan Piker.
Okay, good. Okay, so me and you do the same thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. I do that on
okay.
Yeet. Yeah. I don't have as much money as you, so $200,000, a little bit out of my price range.
The concept of a large group of people being against capitalism is rightfully scary to large creators online who are held up by that same capitalist system. To those creators, fear-mongering with Red Scare politics and galvanizing your base to go after the tankies probably seems like a very good content strategy. But in actuality, it's just another method in the culture war playbook.
Drama is interesting. I mean, the history of the world is drama. What's your favorite hobby?
Me?
Yeah.
I have a standard poodle, and I like video editing.
You have a standard poodle, like a dog?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know anything about poodles, so I can't make any analogy there, but I've been streaming for 16 years and fighting and arguing with people, and confrontation is kind of, I guess, part and parcel of what I do, and it's kind of fun for me.
Building your online community up by going to war with other creators and their communities is something that's incredibly commonplace these days. There's a whole news, politics, and entertainment system in place ready to be misused and exploited by guys like Destiny to stop progressive ideas from actually breaking through. But things are starting to change. Many are starting to get fed up with politicians' failure to address the labor, healthcare, and cost of living crisis in America. Despite all of those raging issues, most of the discourse is clouded by the culture war.
In any case, that's where we're at in our culture. That's where we're at in the realm of commentary. And these guys are way too predisposed with silliness as opposed to solving any of the crises that are personally responsible for. And the worst part about it is that for many Americans, they're fine with that. They like it. They're like, no, this is great. This is awesome. Yeah, no, keep me invested in this silly shit.
حمانا لو طوقته الضراغم حثالة البغي صالح